This is one of the stars in this garden. It's an oriental hornbeam, Carpinus orientalis, which was collected probably around 10 years ago in Croatia. It's a very typical Croatian tree. It grows a bit south from here, more towards the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. It is a wonderful species for bonsai, which we have only discovered like 10 years ago. Of course, the tree was always around, but we have only discovered about 10 years ago that it's very useful for bonsai. As you can see, in 10 years, you can make something which is very, very nice. Very powerful start of the tree, the nebari and the lower part of the trunk, full of character with that bark. So this tree looks old, and it is old, and it wants to look old. Here you see the two holes here, which I think are very important for the design of that tree. In orthodox bonsai theory, you want these holes to close because it's sort of forbidden to have open wounds on a broadleafed or deciduous tree, as you call them. And I think the contrary is true. This is a very, very old tree, and it's decoration. So if this ever closes, I would open it again. You want these holes for that tree. If you turn it around, you see more of these holes, because obviously this is a collected tree which had big branches which were cut off one day. So this is part of the design, and they should be there. I know that some people take insult in seeing these, because these are not supposed to be on a broadleaf tree. Why is that? Because in Japan they don't do it. Why is that they don't do it? Because they don't go to the forest, collect a broadleaf tree and hack it to pieces and then let it grow again. That's what we do here. They don't do this at all. They grow a tree from seed or a cutting, or starting out to be a bonsai right at its beginning, and they don't want any marks of like big cuts ever, and they say it must be like that. Why does it have to be like that? Because the nurseries want to sell something they have. Why am I saying this? Well, if somebody sells you a tree for 5,000, a very good tree, which has no wounds, and you can go to the forest and find one for free, or buy one for 500 and make a tree like this, then the nursery would not sell their trees anymore. So they have to tell you that the wounds are bad, because their tree is better. That's my sort of understanding why that is. Because it's just made up by some gardeners. There is no reason why an old tree should not have holes. We like them. You go through a forest when you're walking and you see this old oak, and it has holes, and it's full of character. You like it. Why can you not do that on a bonsai? Of course you can. Okay, here we see that we can, very successfully so. So this tree was hacked to pieces. It was much higher, about 5 times higher and wider. It was hacked to pieces, and now after 10 years, out of these stumps we create these branches, which should never look like bonsai branches, very conforming and with pads. They should look more like a flame, like a real broadleaf tree grows, and this is what's happening here. So this is close to the fairy tale bonsai style, which actually wants these holes and wants a very old spooky tree. This is not quite spooky, but getting into that direction. So one must be careful over the next years to keep this kind of character. Some people take this thing and then try to idealize it. Try to make it a Japanese tree as possible, make the holes close and everything. Well, if you like that, why don't you go to Japan and buy one for yourself? But I mean, why would you make something to look like it's not supposed to look? I would do the opposite. I would bring out that character even more. I would try to make the crown not as nice as possible. I would try to make a wild-looking crown, which is not quite conforming. So anyway, this is a very nice piece. We have last year, I think, decided that this pot should be a good one for that tree. I think it's a very nice pot by Lubus Coda. Fits very well, especially when there is no foliage. When there's foliage, this crown is heavier, looks heavier, has more optical weight, and then this pot is the same, will look slightly too small. So, well, it's easy. We can, at one point in 2 or 3 years, get a new pot, a similar one, only bigger. But without foliage, I think at the moment, it's just perfect, it's right.
Do you think that this is the final extension of the crown, or should be wider or higher a bit? 2-3 centimeters, or that's enough?
No, I think this is not quite the end of it.
Okay.
We may have a silhouette which is just about outside. Now again, try to make the silhouette not regular at all. Follow my fingers. Like that. Never like that. Never like somebody took a hedge pruner. Now, while we do take a hedge pruner in order to develop these trees, it should absolutely not be visible when it's finished. So it should look like nature did it. So that's what I call the naturalistic style. It's done with very artificial methods. But in the end, if somebody does not know what we did, he thinks, oh, nature did it or God did it. Wonderful. Okay, so that's a trick of us, and actually try to avoid whatever looks like a man did it, and that would be a very nice silhouette. Try to make a wild silhouette. So this is at the moment, if I may suggest something, almost over-tamed. So you have collected yourself a wild boar, a wild pig, and you have tamed it, you have domesticated, and now you are starting to have a house swine. So that's not what we want. We did collect it because we liked that sort of feeling, so we have to bring that out again. This is the character of the tree, and the character is a wild one and not a domesticated, cultivated one. Okay, so this is, while this is the back that I'm showing to you, it's also very interesting because of the holes. So I think they're decorative. They're very nice. And this is, as you can see, this is what happens if you just leave these holes for 10 years. They decay by themselves. There's a little carving that was done on there, but not much, because nature does it. So what you do is nothing. You leave, you hack it off, maybe you carve it a bit, and then you don't protect this. You do not protect this. Leave it alone, it will decay, and then you take a big steel brush and brutally brush it. And then you may even take a torch and burn it, and then this is what you get. And you leave the color. Please do never paint this with lime sulfur to make it white. It should have this brownish, blackish color, which is typical for a broadleaf tree. Yes, sir?
What should be done for this tree to be show ready?
If that were my personal tree, and if I wanted to show it very soon, I would make sure that the algae are off, and there is a trick with some acids like strong vinegar, oxalic acid, or some other acids. You can actually do it. Some of these acids are okay to apply to a tree without hurting it. So be careful when you're doing that. Also, do not get it into your eyes.
I was not thinking about the hygiene, but more on the structure of the crown or some major talks.
Okay, fine. So that's a bit in the long run. I speak about the short run. If I have to show this next week, then I would first clean this. Okay.
1 2 years.
If so, 1 2 3 years, then I would say, get more ramification. You are not doing what I am personally preferring. This is the hedge pruning method. You are doing what is more the standard orthodox method of cutting back, letting grow, pinching back, and then hope to get some ramification here. Eventually you may even get, I tell you, in 10 years, this would be so dense you cannot see through if you would use my method. So again, what you're doing is, whenever something comes out, you pinch it back very soon.
I usually let it grow for 20 centimeters.
Yeah, and then
I cut it back to 2
fine,
buds. Yeah.
fine, and then then you sort of want
I'm slow.
You want to keep it in that shape. You want to have a nice looking tree in your garden. When you walk by it, you smile, right? My method is radically different. I let it grow like this, like a bush. It's terrible. You don't want to look at it. You're ashamed of it. You don't want to show it. However, has a lot of strength, and the branches really grow, and also the tree grows because it creates a lot of energy with all this foliage. And after about 8 to 10 weeks after appearance, I radically prune it back with the hedge pruner. No joking. This is what I do. It's professional, okay? And then leave it again, let it grow again for 10 weeks or so. Feed it, water it a lot, feed it with a lot of nitrogen, and then hack it back again. And then third time. And then in about this time, November, when the foliage is off, then I have a huge mass of little branches, like a hedge, very dense, way too much. And I have a big problem. I have to decide which ones I keep and which ones stay. Normally you have the other problem, you don't have enough. So, oh, I'm very happy that there's new growth here. I have the opposite problem. I have about 10,000 little branches. So it takes me an hour or two to cut carefully, but then I can create these bends which you create with wire here. I create it by cutting. So the character of the tree is different. If you put them side to side, you'll see that it's different one. I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong. I'm only explaining what I'm doing, and I'm about twice or 3 times as fast as you are. So that should be some advantage if you're of a certain age. But you also get there, but I wonder whether you ever get that dense. Anyway, what you did is certainly not wrong at all, because we can see that result after 10 years, so very, very nice.
It's 10 years from collecting, but it's let's say 5 or 6 years in constructing the...
I understand that. So with these trees, we can, after 5 years only, we can create something like this, which we wouldn't have thought that 20 years ago that this was possible. It certainly is. Okay. So the another trick is to let it grow outside the silhouette and then cut back radically. Even if you say this should be a bit bigger, a bit wider in circumference, then you still cut back in order to leave room for new growth. So you don't cut back to this, because then the new growth will make the tree grow outside of your ideal silhouette. Understand? You want to cut inside the ideal silhouette, so at the end it ends where it ideally should end anyway. Okay, good luck to you, huh? You may go on an exhibit one day, very soon. Thank you.